Hello, our Dynamics community. It's your host, Mariana, here to welcome you to the DAYnamics Show, where personal development and wellness meets real life. We know there's no one-size-fits-all path. Your unique journey is your greatest gift. So let's uncover the reason you are here and explore what's possible together. It is our gift to you. Our fundamentals recording will be about exploring the subject of you continue to ask questions and we continue to answer them, or something like that. I'm not quite sure what it'll look like. Each year we start off January with questions you've asked, the most asked, and then we answer them. And it gives you an easy to follow format and shares a bit more of us and what we stand for. And first off, let's just say, welcome 2026. We trust it will be the best year yet, and it obviously will be what you make it to be. To set the tone for all of our time together, as it's more than just a podcast. We're here to remind you that flowing through each of us is a dynamic energy that is ours to use every single day. That's why the day in DAYnamics is capitalized. It is a daily choice to live dynamically. I ask you to just take a moment and center yourself. Take a deep breath in and out. Be fully present and listen with an open heart and mind. Since we know what we focus on expands, and part of being dynamic is constantly changing, being open to new ideas, a factor that influences a process of growth and change, and we're always becoming something. So we extended out on our website and social media platforms what questions you wanted answered. So here's our top 10 to start with in 2026. Thank you to all that shared this information of wanting to have some stuff answered just from our perspectives. And we appreciate you because you're all part of our Dynamics community and family. If you're listening to this, you're part of it, whether that means for 1 minute or you subscribe to our channel, you're still part of the family. We welcome you all. From Tazi is our first question. She's one of our newest subscribers supporting the show, so thank you so much, Tazi. Her question is, why did you start the DAYnamics Show podcast? How do you think it's being received, and what's up for 2026? I love this podcast. Do more. Thank you, Tazi. Great question to start with, and thanks for loving it, Tazi. I started doing the podcast because personally I felt, and the team felt, that we had meaningful, dynamic things to share, and was actually asked and told by many people that this would be one of the things I was gifted to do in life. We wanted to share various resources, as a gift to others with no expectations. And also it's about acknowledging myself and honoring my own perspectives. Sometimes when you share your perspectives and you don't have anyone that understands the language fully. So this way, getting it out on a podcast and then having those meaningful conversations that go around with it when people interact, it is about really building a community. And again, we really appreciate that. How do you think it's being received? Well, we feel it's going great. We do what we want to do, and if people see the value, then great. I know our team and I do. In creating the resources, we find real value, and I think that's where it starts. What's the intention and what are we sharing? To date, we have 81 episodes published. 51 countries have listeners that have tuned in, thousands of downloads, meaningful messages, suggestions, conversation responses, and now listeners are subscribing to support the show and or buying us a coffee. So we, again, much gratitude to all of you and thanks, because we are all in this together. So it's like if I find value in something, then I want to support it in some manner. What's new for 2026? Bi-monthly instead of monthly podcasts. So that's more. We will be adding more guests. So we extended our guest episodes up to 47 minutes versus a 30 minutes to allow time if needed. And we're going deeper on the core dynamic subjects. And if you don't know what those subjects are, you can just go to the website, DynaTooks.com. There'll be a link below in the show notes and get familiar with them. Who knows throughout the year what's going to come? We are dynamic. We are open to new ideas. We are open to being inspired and always becoming more. So let's see what 2026 holds for us. I really appreciate the 3-in-1 question, Tazzy, and we appreciate you. So thank you. Received this question from a couple listeners, Jonathan and Medtina. Do you ever feel in competition with other podcasts? Great question. The answer would be like straight up, I would say in the beginning, yes, but not for the reasons that you think. It was more about I thought I had to like follow what some of the others were doing and how they were doing it just for me to fit in. And when you listen sometimes to podcasters are like, do it this way or do it that way. And there's various ways you can do it in various types of podcasts. I had to realize that I'm not looking really to fit in or fit in a box. I'm looking to be authentic, and me, my energy, the experiences that I have that I'm sharing, as well as the ones that I have with the guests, and the energy, because my intention when I start podcasts is I do my little verbiage ahead of time, and then I'm also including Reiki and other healing energy parts of me that are coming through every show to the listeners and the viewers. That's just naturally part of it as well. The other side of this question is like I competed for many years in my life, like as far as like sports and baton, and now it's about supporting each other to be the best we can be in any moment. Like I can't teach what I'm teaching and then not do it myself, right? And I think that there is value in whatever you're attracted to listen to. So just take it for that. Take it for what serves you. We always say, if you agree, then great. Share, subscribe. And then if you don't, then that's great too, because it's only going to get you clear on what serves you better on the subject matters or topics that we're talking about, or in this case, the dynamics that we're doing. I say what I say because, I get an instinct to say something, not seeming logical or fitting in exactly is not competition. It's more of uniqueness, authenticness, being who they need to be, sharing at that moment. Because if you're new to podcasting, don't ever feel like you have to compete or be like someone else. I get it. There's certain things that you're best to follow. And all anyone that's doing podcasts can do is tell you what they do. And then again, do your own research, listen to what a few people say, and then decide who you want to be in all of this. What a great question from both of you. Thanks, Jonathan and Martina. Number 3, this was asked when someone finds out I host a podcast, too many to put names on. How many followers do you have and what is it about? It's always the 2 questions that are asked when I say I do podcasts. What it is about is easy, and I always just direct them to DaynamicsShow.info, but I can tell them in a few words. However, the followers part is more complex, so Many things to consider when answering the question. First, why are you asking me about followers? Does that determine if you're going to listen or not? Or are you genuinely curious? Every podcast starts somewhere. One listener, millions of listeners. It's a journey, not a destination. Sometimes I feel, am I justifying or am I trying to prove by the amount of followers? Because that changes all the time. We all know that. And second, there are many platforms you can host on. Ours is presently on Buzzsprout, in which it distributes to many different platforms like Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can get your stats and numbers of downloads you have, where they're from. However, people can still listen and subscribe and not download. Then there's a multimedia avenues, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, which has subscribers, followers, and views to consider, and they constantly change. And then we realize there's a certain number of downloads or followers that offers opportunities to monetize your podcast. And for me, for the team, it's never been about the numbers and more about the value of the resources we share. No, don't get me wrong. I love seeing that there's so many people that have downloaded my podcast in a week because I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sometimes because you can get sponsorship and stuff and other opportunities, I'm at a crossroads around that because I feel like if I get sponsors, would it change the tone of the podcast? Because I feel like I would have to be promoting something and interrupting the natural flow that I have. Or would it bring or deter more listeners? Question I'm still dealing with. For me, I prefer not to hear a ton of ads or hosts mentioned when I'm listening to a podcast on products or services. Do other podcasters and listeners feel the same? Like, I am open to getting sponsorships if it's one that resonates and for what we stand for as well, then absolutely open to it. As long as it continues with the flow of what we're about. Thank you for all of those that helped me clarify this question. And as far as the numbers, again, they change all the time. I always try to educate people around that question. How's our listeners doing? I appreciate this opportunity to share these. Listener KL, you reference a bigger perspective a lot in the podcast and do what serves you. Why? The team and I feel it's important to get out of our own way sometimes. So when you're going more general and looking at the bigger perspective, when referring to something, really takes you out of your physicalness a little bit and your focus on this certain circumstance or situation or whatever it may be. I always think if I'm listening to a podcast, can I understand it from another person's perspective or from the higher mind perspective? And am I being dynamic and authentic? And does this serve me? So I want to offer those to people. I don't want to tell you what you need to do or don't do. That bigger perspective is your choices to make. But having choices and doing your proper research on stuff, and if you're attracted to something, pay attention to it. Because again, it doesn't always mean that it's logical. It may mean that it's just, I was attracted to this. Let's see why. Do what serves for you because, it's easy sometimes to get caught up in the reality of something and what is instead of, telling the universe your intentions, which they already know, by the way. Why I put in my intentions after for the highest bliss or the better than I can imagine so that I am not getting into my own way or getting in my own way. What serves you can change every second and that's okay. So just that bigger perspective, I think just makes it feel better. It makes it feel not so localized and more universal. It all starts from within. And whatever tools and whoever and whatever you believe in, doesn't matter. You have to be okay with your own balance. Thanks so much, KL. I'm sure we'll talk more about this in another podcast. Dalton is next. Again, thank you, Dalton, for the buy me a coffee, which we bought a tea for ourselves. I appreciate that, supporting our journey along the way. He asks, why discussions versus interviews? Really good question. I never cared for the energy of an interview, especially for jobs, which is the one that I have most experience in. I don't want to put my guests in a situation where I feel like I'm asking, they're just answering, and there's not really a big discussion on it, because a lot of times I ask, they answered, I ask another question that refers to how they answered, and then it goes back and forth, which ends up being like a conversation/discussion anyway, but I rather get to the deeper part of it. Definition of an interview from several sources, it's a structured conversation where one person asks questions to gather information from another, assess skills, experience, and personality, but also used helping both parties decide if it's a good fit. If you're on my podcast and I've already had the conversations with you before about being on the podcast, then I don't need to see if you're a good fit. You are a good fit. That's why I would have chosen you to be on it, and you'd be a good fit for our audience. That's why we picked meaningful discussions on topics that are important to us both, because we all have our own life path, and being open to new ideas is dynamic. It opens you up even more. Thank you, Dalton. And again, thank you for the tea. Hope that answers what you're looking for. If not, just follow up with us again. Question from Suzanne. Clarification on the difference between our personal standards and expectations. Good question. This question can get very detailed from our perspective, but to me, personal standards are our own choices, which can be adjusted when chosen. And then expectations are more attached to the external. So for me, personal standards are about how I live, and expectations are about what I might get. And then another way to look at it is personal standards are more internal, self-guided principles that shape our character and our actions, while expectations are attachments to specific outcomes or responses from the world. And I'm sure we'll talk more about this because it was on one of my lists of podcasts to do along the way as we do the dynamics throughout the year coming up. Listen for more of that. I know you had another question, Suzanne. That will better be suited with Dynamics series when we do that podcast. And thank you, Suzanne. There'll be more this coming year. Now, our 4 quick answered ones. And these are actually from Lakota, because I said, Lakota, you were with me all last year doing all the dynamics with me as discussions. What questions do you have that could be answered quickly or maybe not? We'll see how it unfolds as I talk, because again, it's like a discussion fundamental off the cuff. First one, difference between your multimedia, vehicle, videos, blogs, podcasts, etc., YouTube, all that. So vehicle videos are housed on YouTube, and they're just me in a vehicle. They are making the best use of my time, and I am waiting for someone or just need quiet, come out to the vehicle. They're around dynamics and the core of dynamics, but they're also just if something's up in my life. Blogs are blogs. And I will always have every month something based primarily on whatever dynamic that we're doing at that time. And there's usually blogs twice a month. That's on dynamicseries.com/multimedia/blogs. Podcasts, DAYnamics Show, remember daily. focus on your well-being, and podcasts primarily are audio, but they're gonna be some videos this year as well. Then there's other things. I have little series on YouTube as well, 90-second series and this and that. The podcasts, the blogs, just go to the multimedia, dynamicseries.com/multimedia. We always post something on our social media. So right now we're on Facebook and Instagram, and I was told I might want to look at TikTok and Snapchat. Next one. What is your favorite episode you've recorded so far and why? Huh, interesting. Think from a sentimental standpoint, it would be with, at the time, my 90-year-old mama. And we did two. It was an honor for me to actually hear her perspective on things because with our parents, mother, father, or our relatives or grandparents, sometimes you talk to them, but do you really talk to them? So having them on a podcast and really having questions about how do they really feel about something, really get to know them better. So any podcasters out there, have that focused discussion with your close relatives. We ended up getting my mama a book about the memories of her life in general, because like I said, she's 91 now. So then we can have it forever and then put it down into generational stuff. You can also do it in a podcast as well. Next one. What is a topic you would like to cover but haven't yet? Well, there's many that I haven't done yet. But as far as a dynamic, I'll just focus on that. For this question, they are pregnancy dynamics and death dynamics. We started them. However, we're not quite into it enough to publish it or have a podcast on it. That might be, the ones that we add on to it as like other dynamics. We get a lot of questions about that cycle of life. And the last one she sent to me, what is your favorite DynaTool that you use? So those that don't know what a DynaTool is, it's dynamics and tools together, just shortened it to call it a DynaTool. Think our knowings. So instead of saying, I would like to be, the knowings is already, you act as if it's already so. Like I choose instead of I'll think about it or try. There's statements and mantras, because I think self-care and self-talk is so important. So DynaTools will always be shared under our resources for the well-being of everyone's life. And doing what serves you. Everyone has a different life path. Really getting to know who you are and the truth of who you are as this dynamic, loving being. Just remembering, and it's just so important to realize that everything starts from within. Like we have shared on this podcast and many other podcasts, it doesn't really matter to me personally what your beliefs are, as long as those beliefs are serving you in some manner. So we'll always offer DynaTools to help you think, to help you feel, to whatever it might be, to just, again, expand and evolve you into more of who you are. Thank you, Makota. I really appreciate you on that. Thank you for all that took the time to send in the questions and comments and suggestions. Keep them coming. May have one again mid-year. I just think it's a grounding thing for me as well, because someone will ask a question and are other people thinking this as well? So I think twice a year definitely is worth bringing the questions up. We appreciate and honor you and your dynamic journey. So thank you so much. So Dynamics community, what question did you like the most out of all of them? And what will you take from it? And how will you make this information uniquely yours? Your answers don't have to be the same as mine. If you look at the questions from an overall perspective and put it into, say, you have a company or a podcast, you can ask yourself these same things. So what now? We challenge you to take action, share this episode with someone who may need it, or to explore our past recordings to keep the discussion alive. Your dynamic journey doesn't stop here. There's so much more waiting for you. So we invite you to follow, subscribe, share websites, DaynamicsShow.info or DynamicsSeries.com to dive into our resources, including being able to subscribe to the show and receive exclusive podcasts plus extras. Keep in mind, all materials are shared on the show are copyrighted and meant for informational purposes only. So until we meet each other again, until next time, thank you for tuning into the DAYnamics Show. It's always fun doing a Q&A, and I appreciate it very much. Align with your dynamic well-being every day and make this a dynamic day. Thanks so much. Bye for now.